Zorrich's prediction.
Pain. We run the clock. Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop.
You're adding this guy.
Just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show where you dream.
Ain't no bias, Chris Zorich breaking truth. Traded in the golden helmet in the past for a suit. With the tape, never lies. College ball, he's astute. Ranking the top 16, not the top 32.
I don't mean to cut you off like a Zorich jersey, but you ain't really grinding unless the jersey dirty. Hit the running back like a Mack truck behind the 30-yard line. It's game time. My team riding off the sideline.
You look at Chris like this with a fact checklist, going over college teams like a busy scientist. Steve streaking from his head like in his playing days. Super 16 polls on the show straight away.
It's the FBS, the best of the best from the ACC to the SEC. Pac-12, Big 10, Mountain West, Sun Belt, and the Big 12. Open your eyelids, who the best like Cali? Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop. With Christopher Zorich, just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show of your dreams.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 5 of the Super 16 Poll Show with Chris Zorich, brought to you by the Tape Never Lies Network. I also got my boy Phil in the house. Phil, you want to say hi to anybody?
Here I am.
You're extremely happy, I know that.
Well, we got you. Bears got a win, but today, the Bears always take 2 steps forward, and just like Paulo Abdul
song, huh?
Oh my God,
3 steps back.
3 steps back. Matt Nagy has to go and do that negativity and say, all right, but Andy's our one, and the game plan wasn't you. Bill Lazor went out there and did exactly what TTNL said. It was like, you couldn't make it, like even troll haters can't deny. I said 2 tight ends, I formation, run the inside zone, power game, action off of it, throw the ball downfield, 3-step, hey, it was
and you win.
And you win. It's really this team, they can't get out of their own way. And then they do a great job. David Montgomery, we're praying for you, brother. I hope he's okay. There's a lot of rumors out there. I am hoping to hear from him himself, so I don't I worry. But they didn't even show it. It was bad. So for him to come back from that, I mean, he is a warrior. So if anybody could do it, he will. Prayers up to you, David. But Real quick, last point about this is you don't go to Andy Dalton as a freaking real head coach. You go with the young guy. He won the game for you. He's delivering the ball down the field, and he's growing. You don't stunt growth. To me, this is just the same old political nonsense, and obviously I'll be covering it all week long. We're going to have your teammate back on, Eric Kramer. He's going to look back at the Lions game as a former Lion and Bear and talk about Justin Fields. So
that's awesome. So we are going to talk about how the Lions are 0-3. They were 0-3, right? We're not going to talk about that.
We could, yes.
Well, okay. I'm encouraged. I'm excited they won, but after watching Sunday Night Football with
Mac Jones.
Hey, Mac Jones in the house.
I've told you about my Mac Jones thing. So you know where I stood with Mac Jones. And the network and the fans know I've never hidden from it. But the reality is, Justin Fields played a great game. When you got to do what your players do well. It's like Mr. Cotter. Remember Mr. Cotter,
Wow.
the teacher?
Yeah,
He was-
absolutely.
He had to teach the students the way they would learn. That's what a great teacher, coach would do. You
And
got to
quote
do.
from Welcome Back, Hada.
Welcome back, Chris
I love it.
Zorich.
All right, here we go.
Let's go. I'm excited. What another great weekend of college
It
football.
was an exciting weekend.
Oh my
Exciting
gosh.
weekend. And I have a little rant because last week, can you throw up last week's poll? Because
Absolutely.
I'm just going to do a little
Let's
bit of math.
kick it off with last week's poll.
With just a little bit of math. So Notre Dame was 11th in our poll last week, and Cincinnati was 7th in the poll. Well, as the whole country knows, Cincinnati beat Notre Dame, and now Notre Dame is not even in my Super 16.
Oh, you're spoiling it
poll.
for everyone?
Well, I have to have a rant because I need the opportunity to kind of dish about my lowly Irish. It was a rough one. I mean, special teams played well. Folks were excited. Texting all my guys back and forth. We finally thought we were going to have a chance to do something. Before the game started, I knew there were 4 keys that I believe they needed to win, which was run the ball, offensive line play, obviously special teams. I'm a big special teams guy. But more importantly, keep one quarterback in, regardless of who Coach Kelly would have wanted in there. That unfortunately did not happen. There was some success to special teams. The offensive line running game was just it was average at best. And Ritter, their quarterback, just had a great game. And literally, I thought our defense was going to come through. The Notre Dame's defense did improve a little, but it was just a little bit. It wasn't enough to win. And I know it was an emotional game for both Luke Fickell and Marcus Freeman because they're boys, but that's not how I wanted the game to end. So, unfortunately, that's my rant because they're not even in my Super 16 poll, which means I won't be able to talk about them. So
the Super 16 poll show with Chris
minus
Zorich.
Notre Dame.
Minus Notre Dame. Spoiler alert.
It was a rough one.
Everyone wanted to know, where is Chris going to land those Irish? Clemson gets a couple chances. Why not Notre Dame?
Get it. All right. A little controversy here. Well, because Clemson, they were losing to better teams.
That's right, Chris. That is the reality.
I mean, let's be honest, and I'll have a chance to kind of talk about Cincinnati as we get into the poll. But at the end of the day, they're still an American Athletic Conference team. And since it was a bye game, for those of you guys who might not know what a bye game is, that's when big-time schools paid money to lesser opponents or smaller schools. So this relationship, this game was scheduled years in advance. I mean, no one knew how great Cincinnati was going to be. And I'm sure Notre Dame probably paid them over $1 million to play. And they whipped them. Whipped them good.
Oh, another 80s song just pops into my head as soon as he said it. And that would be Devo, even though Facebook users correcting us appropriately. Go over there, StreamYard.com/Facebook, so we could see who you are, Facebook user.
Oh, 2 steps back. Okay, I'm sorry.
2 steps forward, she says 2 steps back.
My bad. Sorry. I'm not hip to my Paula Abdul. Paula Abdul. My bad. Sorry.
But listen, yes, Bullock's got with it.
We haven't started yet.
We haven't even started yet.
Up on our songs.
Hopefully you come with some good streaming show near the end of the show for people this week. But let me just say this. He's blown the coverage like Deion Bush If you're a
Wow.
Bears fan, you know that reference. And he's telling you right now, Notre Dame will not be in this poll, but will his buddy, will his friends, and a bunch of 100 crew see his former teammate as well, Coach Jim Harbaugh's Big Blue. You're going to have to wait. I hope.
Well, but
hope there's
also, I mean, there were some major teams that actually
Oh,
lost.
yeah. Yes.
So our Super 16 poll got a little dismantled
All
this
shook
week,
up.
to say the least.
It's all-
Look at you with all the songs today.
We got awesome.
I'm
We got
impressed.
Whip It by Devo. Bullets got it right. It was
Okay.
exactly what I was thinking of the song. And now we got All Shook Up. Who probably Elvis stole that from somebody.
I'm sure back in the day,
No doubt about it.
All right. Okay, we had a chance to see last week's Super 16. I think we should just start with number 16.
Number 16, Arkansas.
Whew, I was so excited about this Arkansas team. We actually talked about this. It was in one of our top 5 games. They went up against a really, really good Georgia team. I mean, it was interesting because, well, I'll get into this later because I also want to talk about Georgia as well. But their dream season isn't necessarily over per se, but they wound up losing to a really, really good Georgia team. So even though the score was 37-0, they still, I believe, are competitive, and they're going to be playing Ole Miss on Saturday. And Ole Miss, as we saw, lost to Alabama. So next week's game is literally going to be like a game between the 1 and 2 losses of week 4 of college football. They have a chance to kind of match up and hopefully redeem themselves. And the one who will win will have a chance to kind of make good on the rest of the season, hopefully. So that was Arkansas. We'll now go to number 15.
Number 15, Florida.
Whew, another one. It was a rough week for the SEC, but also for our Super 16. But, we are trying. So, again, they dropped 6 to number 15. And pretty interesting, they played a Kentucky team, which I wasn't aware of this until the announcers talked about it. But that was the first win over Florida at Kentucky since 1986. So you can imagine what that meant to all the folks in Kentucky. I mean, it was a huge game for Kentucky, which, you know what that means? I'm referring to maybe Kentucky might be in the Super 16. Who knows? Because you guys know my philosophy. However, they have Vanderbilt coming up, which is fine, but they're also in the East, which means they have to play Georgia. And right now, you just take one game at a time. Kentucky, ride this wave. You're 5-0 right now. Enjoy it. Concentrate on Vanderbilt, and then after that, the next opponent. Let's go to number.
Best shows
Yes,
of
sir.
1986, Chris.
Wow.
Growing Pains and Family Ties. Those were the top 2
There
shows,
we go. Who
followed
knew?
by The Cosby Show.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
1986.
That was the last time Kentucky beat Florida in Kentucky.
Exactly.
That's amazing. I mean, imagine the excitement.
Excitement.
They
Michael
rushed the
J.
field.
Fox on a Thursday night. Saturday,
This guy.
Kentucky beats
Yeah.
Florida and the Gators. 1986. It's the last time the Bears won the Super Bowl was
Oh!
1985. Whoa!
Oh!
Oh, Mother Hubbard.
He'll be here all week, folks. He will be here all week. Let's go to number 14.
Number 14, Stanford.
Now, this is a surprise, Phil. I know you're like, what? Stanford? Are you kidding me? Hey, man. This is what did Stanford do? Stanford beat the number 3 team in the country in overtime. I mean, they beat USC to get into my Super 16 poll. Now they lost to I forgot who they lost. They lost to somebody, but I think it was Kansas State. I think they lost to. But you think about, I thought the season was going to be over, and Oregon. I mean, they had a chance. This is the first time since the college football playoff was started.
They lost to UCLA.
Okay. Oh no, and somebody else. I thought they had 2 losses. They don't? They only have 1 loss? Stanford.
1 loss.
Okay.
UCLA, it shows here. They beat USC 42-28.
Right, which got them into my Super 16.
Vanderbilt.
There we go. Hey, again, I remember that one.
23.
That was a smart people's game.
UCLA, they lost.
And then they lost. Then they were out. They were gone. And never
now
to be
they're
mentioned
back
again, I assumed.
Then they beat Oregon.
And then they beat I mean, come on, man. Seriously. So
there you go.
But here's the problem. You have Oregon. This was going to be the Pac-12 chance to actually get the first time to get in the college football playoff. And what happened? I mean, because there's no way Oregon was going to lose any of these games. So Oregon now is theoretically out of the hunt, which is kind of surprising considered I really had Oregon going really far. They had the defensive stars back. I really thought this was going to happen, but unfortunately it didn't. It was a rough week for these top teams. It was crazy. So the interesting thing now is let's see how Stanford does for the rest of the year. They have Arizona State coming up, but I hopefully they can ride that momentum after beating the number 3 team in the country. We'll go to number 13.
Number 13, Michigan.
All right. I know somebody's happy. I know. Oh, here we go. Harbaugh, my teammate. He deserves. Big Blue. They go Blue. They deserve to be in the top 16. They beat an okay Wisconsin. I mean, after what happened with Notre Dame, I really had high hopes for Wisconsin. I'm sure everybody did. But interestingly enough, they wound up losing because here's the thing. High hopes for Wisconsin because they only lost to Penn State by 6. So I'm thinking, hey, you know what? Wisconsin's going to have a great year. I was afraid what was going to happen against Notre Dame. That turned out in Notre Dame's favor, which was great. Now, Harbaugh had a chance to go down there and prove that he is a good coach. But again, I think at this point, Wisconsin is down 3 games. So at the end of the day, how great will that win be against Wisconsin for these guys? So, but the interesting thing, though, is that they have Michigan State coming up, as we know, and they got Penn State and, of course, the big game of the year, Ohio State. And I have to salute my boy, Rick Delio, because he's a huge Michigan fan. You've heard me talk about him before, and he kept asking me, where's Michigan? Where's Michigan? Where's Michigan?
There they
are.
Same with our producer, Cherie. She finally gets her team in the Zopo. The Super 16, the Zopo.
I like that. The Zopo.
The Zopo. Look at Jim Harbaugh likes it. He's like, where's that Zorich? Where's the Zorich? I'm going to kill that guy if you don't put me in that. Look at that. About time she's even getting the comments of.
About time. There you go.
Dun, 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 dun. That would get me
However,
fired up, man. I'm not gonna lie.
well, I mean, I'm excited too, and it's going to be a good game because their next game is going to be Nebraska.
Yes.
Even though we saw Nebraska trounce Northwestern, this is pretty much going to be a win.
Real quick, let me ask you.
Yes, sir. Real quick.
Michigan always falls to Ohio State. So let's just real quick here.
Real quick.
That's the big thing. He's never gotten over that hurdle. This year, Fickle and company, they look ripe for the taking. Could you see Michigan getting over that hurdle? Then they'll have to face off Penn State or Iowa if they do get over that hurdle. What are your thoughts? Can they do it this year?
That's a rough one. And I say that because I think Ohio State has something to prove.
Okay.
After what happened with Oregon, I think they seriously have something to prove. And I think that's why they're going on and dominating people. And I feel sorry for everybody that's in the what division are they in? Are they in the East or the leaders or legends or that was old school?
They got rid of that. Let's look up the Big
That wasn't
10.
too confusing.
Well, it's all confusing. How many teams are in the Big 10?
14? Like 60.
Exactly. Big 10 conference. Let's see. They're not giving me the Cherie. Do you have the?
It's called ESPN.
I'm in that.
You ever seen ESPN, bro?
It doesn't show me like the football conference.
Hmm.
Eastern and Western.
Okay.
Eastern
and Western.
Eastern,
right.
Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Maryland.
That's the rough one. That is the
Indiana.
one you don't want to be in.
The West Division, Christopher, is Iowa, Minnesota, Purdue, Nebraska, Illinois, Northwestern. Oh, I said Illinois from Connecticut. I'll say Illinois so no one gets mad at me.
Oh, I'm sure they already are. I'm sure they're already typing stuff. I'm sure they're already in there. He's a Bear fan. What
What the heck are you talking about? It's Illinois.
Can I be in that division, please? Because
Yes.
man, that's a really cool division to be in, right? You don't have to wait until the Big Ten championship to kind of play your starters. All right, so Michigan is now in. They have a chance to go on. They're going to play Nebraska. After that, Northwestern, and then the big boys, Michigan State, Penn State, all these other teams. So it's going to be interesting. So Big Blue is into Cherie and also my boy Rick. Let's go to number 12.
Number 12, Kentucky.
All right, y'all. Kentucky, are you kidding me? I mean, come on. You don't beat a team at home for I was a junior in high school the last time that happened. That's insane. So absolutely Kentucky deserves to be here. And they were unranked before, have a chance to come in, and they debuted at 12. So some folks might say, hey, why is Michigan at 13 and Kentucky's at 12? Kentucky actually played some teams. Michigan, not that great, not so much. But we don't necessarily have to debate that right now. We can talk about Kentucky. First time they were 5-0. Man, forgot to send on TV, but I mean, the idea that there's finally a valid, there's more valid competition, I think is great in the SEC. And that's why the SEC is the best football conference.
Top Gun was the #1 movie in 1986.
And that's a reference because
That was the
That was
last time
they beat them. Yes,
Kentucky beat Florida. And former Bear teammate Todd Perry.
There you
played
go.
at Kentucky. There you go.
Nice. Who
There
used
you
to
go.
crush me in practice.
He was one of the most underrated football players I think the Bears ever had.
He was very good. And I think, isn't he like a strength coach or something like that now?
I got to find out where he's at. I met him way back in the 90s.
He is a big dude, too.
John Randall said he was the one guy that gave him fits. That's John Randall.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's high praise.
That's huge praise. That's huge praise. But it's going to be interesting, though. Again, I'm excited for him. One game at a time, because their next game now is against LSU, which they are obviously beatable. But then after that, you got Georgia, and there's a really strong possibility they can win out and be 11-1. When was the last time Kentucky was 11-1? I think I'm on ESPN. I think I have a producer that can find that information that fast. When was the last time Kentucky was 11-1? Ha ha! I tricked you. That's going to be a hard one. But they have that ability. Again, Georgia will probably dismantle them. But 11-1 is not a bad season. It's huge for Kentucky. All right, let's go on to number 12. Number 11.
Number 11, Oklahoma State.
Another new team. I'm telling you, man, this was a crazy week. How did Oklahoma State end up in the Super 16? Well, they beat a pretty good Baylor team to go 5-0. And it's interesting because now they have a chance to next week I think they have a bye next week, and then they play Texas. Yeah, that's what it is. So they have a bye next week, and again, a possibility these guys can win out and then have a chance to play Oklahoma in Bedlam, the Battle of Bedlam, which again is another huge rivalry. So this is, I'm excited. We have some new blood now in the Super 16, and this is, keep your eyes on Oklahoma State. They are a very good team. They'll probably come in second after Oklahoma, but it's going to be a really good game. Let's go on to number 10.
Number 10, Michigan State University.
Now, this is a fun one. This is Michigan State moves up 5-10 after they beat Western Kentucky. Now, that's a huge jump after beating a okay Western Kentucky team. So why is that, you say? Well, we had so many folks drop at the bottom. You can't do anything but allow them to go up, because I'm not going to throw in somebody like Arkansas or somebody like Florida in after they just got beat above teams that are doing well. So even though Michigan State beats a Western Kentucky team, again, not that great. They should have dominated them, but they didn't. But I kind of had to move them up. They have a chance to do some things. Folks are excited about Michigan State. Tucker is doing a great job, the head coach. But they're also in that rough division. So they still have to play Michigan. They still have to play Ohio State. They still have to play who else? I forgot.
Penn State.
Yes, Penn State. But next game is going to be Rutgers. So they have a chance to kind of ride this wave a little bit more. They have a chance to be 6-0, which again, this is great because a lot of these teams are new, not even Super 16 poll, but just kind of really making some strides, being undefeated, in week 6, week 7 of the season. So this is something that's obviously important to the program, but it's going to be interesting to kind of see what happens toward the end because there's going to be some big games coming up, and hopefully they can kind of stay on track, not get derailed like Oregon did with Stanford. So we're now going to number 9.
Number 9, BYU.
Okay, here we go. So we got BYU at number 9. They moved up 4 spots. Again, they didn't really beat like a world power. I mean, it was Utah State. They were okay. But again, it was a numbers thing. Even though they won with a mediocre team, I mean, I can't keep them there because they want to doing a lot better than, let's say, like a Stanford, Florida, Arkansas, things like that. So they actually had to move up a little bit. But it's kind of interesting because when you look at their scheduling, they're independent. Now, in the next couple of years, they'll have a chance to join the Big 12, which I think is going to be exciting for them. Last time they were in a conference, I think it was Mountain West, and they were like playing like against Air Force and Colorado State, teams like that. So I think BYU kind of jumped at the opportunity to not only be part of the Power 5, but have a chance to kind of be in a conference that eventually I think will be good. Won't be as good as other conferences, but they'll be okay. It's kind of interesting because they've already beat 2 top 25 teams. So they're on the road to improving, and they have this weird schedule. Like they're playing like some also-rans. I think they're playing like Washington State as well. But their next game is going to be Boise State, which again isn't a powerhouse, but they have that ability to go and find kind of other teams that maybe are even lesser teams, but because they're playing so well, they'll have a chance to kind of go up in the ranking. So, which is how they kind of jumped up to number 9 after only beating Utah State by 4 points. So we can go on to number 8.
Number 8, Oregon.
Now this was a hard one because I mean they should not have lost this game. When you're talking about taking a average and best Stanford team into overtime, I mean it was they shut down the running game a little bit. The quarterback that I love had some problems. This is hard because this was their chance. This was an opportunity for the Pac-12 to have somebody in the hunt and prove that the Pac-12 is a viable conference in the Power 5. When you look at historically, it hasn't been. I'm not sure when the last time a Pac-12 team broke the top 5. And as we talked about in the beginning of the year, in order to kind of stay in the hunt, with wins and losses and stuff, and have a chance to even be part of the 4 or maybe even the 6, right? Is to kind of hover like around 6, 7. But yeah, they're 8 now. But after losing to Stanford, I mean, at this point, I mean, anyone could possibly beat them, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but they have a chance. Now they have a bye week, kind of lick their wounds a little bit. They're going to play an average Cal team. Well, again, hopefully they'll have a chance to beat them. But, this is rough because you're talking about one of the – I thought was one of the best teams in the country. Phil, do you have any comments on what happened with Oregon?
Yeah, I mean – Coach David Shaw, again, we talked about it last week, and you are a witness to this from your own experience with Coach Holtz. It's usually the coaches that in these big games that separate preparation and just attitude, energy, finding the weaknesses of an opponent and taking away their strengths when you're on defense. David Shaw is one of the best coaches in all of college football. He's done it time and time again. And with the academic restrictions that Stanford and Notre Dame and some of these educational hurdles, so to speak, in basically a sport that's prepping guys for, scholastics and to get to the NFL is the only minor league really until NFL Europe or something actually stands up on its own. This is it. So a lot of these advantages go to some of these bigger schools that have lesser restrictions. It is what it is. I mean, you can't be afraid. We keep it 100 here. So for David to have that, I was so impressed with Stanford because like you said, it's like David versus Goliath. Oregon has all this talent, amazing NFL prospects everywhere, and Stanford doesn't. So for them to go in there and play that kind of football, that's what I love about college football and football in itself, the ultimate team sport. And they went out there and did it. It was an amazing football game. If you didn't get to see it, hopefully you can have an opportunity to take some time out and
see
watch
the highlights because I think it was as exciting for me. I think this win obviously means more than the USC win,
right?
But I mean, this game I think was up there with the Ohio State Oregon game because I mean they were it was that exciting and it went into overtime.
Yeah, it's
that was their chance though, man. That was their chance.
I like the college overtime better than the NFL overtime.
Everybody does, yeah.
It's just
and the theory though in the NFL is that this is what I heard.
Let me hear it.
They don't want to take on the rules of overtime for college because I think even the college overtime rule had its inception like in high school or something like that.
It did.
So the idea that the NFL now, has to, I mean, but when you talk about being fair, I mean, that's as fair as it's going to be, right?
It's like, that's the whole, like arm wrestling. It's like you one-on-one, mano-a-mano. Now you're in the red zone. Let's go. Who wants it more? That to me is the essence of football. And they could learn a thing or two. I hate when the NFL thumbs their nose at the college game when it's given them so much. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, let's figure this out. Both of them have their moments. Like, okay, it shouldn't be 4 playoff teams. Let's figure this. Let's figure this out. Let's get 8 at least. So, a team like, what was it? South Florida or Central Florida is undefeated. You put them in there. Then they end up knowing, okay, this is the competition. Or they have a Stanford type moment versus Oregon. They go into overtime and they win, and it becomes like that Boise State moment. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one of the most memorable games I'll ever, remember as a young kid, seeing that Statue of Liberty X play, whatever that play is called. I don't know what they named it, but you know what I'm saying. I just think, anyway, I'm going on a rant, but it's worth it.
Oregon, man.
Oregon upset. I love where you moved them.
See?
And you're keeping it consistent like you did with Clemson. So I like it. I like what I see.
And it's interesting because we're on 7 and we have no Clemson yet. But Jason, thank you very much for shooting home and getting home on time. Listen to the show. We're having a lot of fun. Number 7.
Number 7, Ohio State.
Okay, again, there's another team. So they moved up one spot to number 7. They just annihilated Rutgers 52-13. Normally, I don't allow teams to go up 1 or 2 because of that. But again, it was the numbers. I mean, there were so many teams that were in my top 16 that had some issues. And interestingly enough, like other polls, they had the same issue. So it's not the fact that I'm just out there trying to grab like some wannabes out here. I mean, we had some really, really good teams that went down. And I think, as I mentioned before when I was talking to Phil, the idea that Ohio State now kind of has a chance after that bitter taste in them, that bitter loss they had, they now have a chance to kind of win out and really have a chance to see who's going to end up in the top 4 in the college football playoff. But even before that, you talk about chances are they may have to play either Iowa or Penn State in the Big Ten championship. And I think that'll be their kind of redemption game to kind of get them back into the fold. Because at the end of the day, Phil, I don't know how you feel about Ohio State, but they are the best team in the Big Ten. And
really
they have the best athletes. And
whoa.
What are the whys?
What are the whys of that, Chris?
They get they recruit against Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, right? And win. They win players. Look at the tailback. He's a freshman. He's a 5-star guy, right? Now, Michigan State, Northwestern, they're not getting these players. Iowa, they're not getting these players. So they obviously have to do more with less, but that's why kind of Ohio State.
You have Ohio State just in perspective to clarify what Chris is saying, not right this moment as far as looking at them playing. You're saying recruiting wise,
yes,
they easily get the best talent in the Big Ten. That's what you're saying.
By eons.
I got you now. I thought you meant because right now, for me, the best team in the Big Ten is Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
When watching them, that's who I see as the best team playing in the Big Ten. And shocker here, I really believe Jim Harbaugh has that Michigan Wolverine football team playing lights out football. I don't know why it took so long to recruit a quarterback there. I've been asking that forever, but this kid seems to have what Jim needs. And that Big Ten, think about it. Penn State, Iowa. Obviously, you're going to get into that, but Penn State, Iowa, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, who you have ranked 7th, right there. Those are 5 teams. Big Ten football. Tom Brady playing on the other night versus the SEC. Big Ten again. Big Ten football. I always loved the Big Ten. I've always loved the Big Ten.
See, we got 1, 2, 3. So we got 4 teams in the top 10 from the Big Ten.
There you go. And Zorich does not. I say this every show, and I'll continue to say it. There is no bias with this man. If you're just tuning in right now, it's the Super 16 poll show with Christopher Zorich. There is no spoiler alert. Notre Dame anywhere.
That hurt, man. That hurt. You have no idea how much that hurt, man.
Over his left shoulder. Your right of your screen, but his left. Yeah, it's hard to do it. What the reality is, this guy shows no bias with his poll, and he explains the truth. I'm looking at what they did. How did they perform? BYU, Oregon, Michigan State, Oklahoma State, Kentucky. They haven't beat Florida in Florida since 1986. Top Gun was the number 1 show. Family Ties was the number 1 TV show.
What was the third rank?
The third one, I have to go back. Family Ties, Growing Pains, and the Cosby Show.
Third was I tricked you.
Oh, you did.
I did. Okay.
Who wore number 3 for the Bears?
That year?
Retired. It's retired.
It's
retired. Do you know who wore it? I always confuse these two.
Sid Luckman?
No, he was number. Wait.
No, no idea.
Yes, I do. Sid
You
Luck
do not
is
have
a
a Sid Luck
quarterback.
poster back there. You do not have a
I
Sid
don't
Luck
have
poster.
a Sid Luck.
See?
I do have I have him right here. A bobblehead. You want me to get him? Number 42.
No. Oh, there we go. Okay.
42.
So I was only like 39 off. That's okay.
Number 3, I believe, was Bronco Nagurski.
Oh,
Did
nice.
we check that?
Okay.
Rick Meyer at Notre Dame.
I love it. Thanks, Bill. I love it. Love it.
Facebook
Absolutely.
user, please go over so we know. Yo, what's up, fellas? Chris wants to say what up to you. And go over StreamYard.com/Facebook and just accept this thing. It takes 2 minutes, not even. Deanna Pierdzak would like to say, hey, Chris.
Hey, Deanna, how you doing? How you doing?
All right. Are you going to watch that show on HBO or what? Were you a big Sopranos guy?
I already saw it, bro. Come on,
holy
shit. You have no idea, bro.
You aren't playing around.
Dude, I used to have soprano parties, man.
Oh my God.
For the finale,
we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to talk.
We had a whole bunch of my guys. We were playing cards, smoking cigars, drinking, watching the last episode. Then at the end, we were all like, "What the?" I mean, it was real.
Oh my God! I thought my computer was
froze or something.
What happened?
Wait, what? So
exactly.
Chris, what happened? What happened? I'm like, dude, it's not my TV. It's over. It's like, what?
My God.
Yeah, believe me, bro.
That was a tough one to swallow.
But I will say,
yes,
it was really, really good. Really good.
Oh my God.
However,
okay.
I think they spent too much time as a kid.
Okay.
Because his son, James Gandolfini's son, spitting image.
Really?
Of him. Oh my God. Walks like him,
really?
Has mannerisms like him. I mean, it's insane.
What's the name of the show again? So everyone.
Is it the Sons of Newark?
HBO Sons of Newark, Saints.
Yeah, I think it's the
Saints of Newark.
Yeah,
Saints of Newark is what.
Phenomenal. Check it out. Check it out. And if you can, check it out on the big screen, bro.
Really?
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, there you go.
And I think what was great, and people will totally understand this who are Soprano fans. What was great is that you had a chance to see younger versions of like Paulie.
Oh my God! I got a story for you.
Hilarious.
Real quick story.
Yes, sir.
The years the Bears drafted, real quick. The years the Bears drafted Greg Olsen, right?
Okay.
I'm down in New York City for the draft. I'm the night before because you got to wait in line. It's free tickets, right?
Jeez,
so I go down there. We go out to a club, right? We're out in the club with my cousin Odessa. Who's changing the script here? Jesus Christ.
I'm Dr. Spadini.
Jesus, Cherie. She's learning. So, real quick, I'm in a club with my cousin Odessa. She's an amazing girl. Shout out to her. And she tells me to meet her with my buddies down at this club. We're in the club dancing, and all of a sudden there's this little person, and he's jumping around next to us, right? And behind him comes Paulie Walnuts.
Oh my God!
Big,
are you serious?
What's his name? Big Pussy.
Yeah.
Big Pussy. Who else? The skinny guy. What was his name? The young kid. I don't want to ruin the show for everybody. What's his name? The star.
Maltasanti?
Yeah, Maltasanti.
Okay, yeah.
Maltasanti. I forget what. I can't remember his character in the show. Damn it. But they all come running in. They're hanging out with us. I was wearing a Bears hat, and he kept doing the Saturday Night Live skit.
Oh, really? Okay. Nice.
The Bear.
Yeah, I did. So if you have a chance, check it out.
You got to check it out. You got to check it out. I'm going to watch it.
You're definitely going to laugh. And then also, it really kind of shows like how his mom was so narcissistic and how she was so crazy. And it's so funny because you'll see like a young Carmela. It's really good. Really, really good. Really good. I don't even know how we got on that, folks. I apologize.
Well, we always do that.
Super
this is what
16
we do.
poll show.
Super 16.
Now we're talking about the Sopranos. So
Sopranos. He's giving you Saints of Newark. Check it out every week.
there we go.
Chris,
Saints
you
of
don't
Newark.
have to
Thank
do
you.
it at the end. Now you get it right here.
We can
Go
do
check
movie
it out.
reviews too.
We
There you
will.
go.
We'll
All right,
add
sounds good.
those to the list. Where are we at here, Chris Zorich?
We're at number 6.
Number 6, Oklahoma.
Man, what the hell is going on in Oklahoma? What's going on in Normal? I mean, they only beat Kansas State by 6. They almost lost to Tulane first game of the year. That's the reason why they've been kind of going down in my poll, right? Because they're barely beating folks that they're supposed to be beating. They have to beat. I mean, if you look at their scores, there may be 1-2 touchdowns outside of, I think, I think they played Akron or something like that, destroyed them. But other than that, I mean, the games are way too close to be an Oklahoma team that's supposed to be vying for the national championship. So they're at 6. I think what's good is that Radler, I know he's kind of having a crazy year, but he's still throwing up the numbers. He's at like 12,000. Excuse me, not 12,000, 1,200 yards. And it's only been 5 games. So, he is doing well. Not sure if he's the Heisman hopeful, but he is doing well. I think what's going to be great, though, is the Red River rivalry, which, Phil, can you jump in here for a second? Because it's gone through a couple different names because of the connotation. It used to be called the Red River Shootout.
Right.
And people were offended by that. So then they changed it to rivalry. I guess people are happy about that. So now it's the showdown or showcase or showdown or something like that. I mean, come on.
Didn't they have the bonfire? That was the bonfire tragedy.
Yeah.
So, this is a rivalry going way back. I mean,
First game, 1900. First game, 1900.
I don't have any movies that came out then or shows.
No, you had the jazz singer, the racist jazz singer. You had Birth of a Nation was around that time.
Oh yeah,
that was another
Boardwalk Empire, another great show
that was
from that time.
From the 1900s, but I'm talking about movies. They were silent movies. They were
Charlie Chaplin.
It was around the time.
Okay.
I'm a little older than you are, so you know. Not that I remember these, but
I don't remember anything from the 1900
no,
year.
Okay. Right.
But it's been around. It's been a long time.
There you go.
I shouldn't have left you.
Hey, see, there you go. See,
Rock
we're throwing music in there now. We're all set.
We're all set. Rakim would tell you this is a game to watch, and
there you go.
Now it's called the Showdown because we're so offended by rivalry.
And
shootout. We don't want any gang issues at the shootout.
But College Game Day is going to be there, so it's going to be. I mean, it's huge, man. In this game, so there's a couple games I'm going to go to. This is one of them.
I got to go with you. They have the state fair that goes on now too.
Exactly.
So they incorporate the whole thing. So it's like it's a whole football, fried Twinkies, and everything going on down in Texas.
How could you not want to see that? Like that's got to be on your bucket list if you're like a college football fan. I mean, that's kind of the epitome of tailgating a game. I mean, just imagine being there in front of.
I gotta get there.
100,000 fans going nuts in a Cotton Bowl. That's pretty cool. So that's what Oklahoma has to look forward to, which they should because they've been only beaten. So now I'm a little nervous now because you have a Texas team that I forgot who they lost to because we had them in our Super 16, but they're now on the comeback. So they have a lot to prove. So now you have a kind of so-so highly ranked Oklahoma team going to face a up-and-coming kind of hungry Texas team. So it'll be interesting kind of see what happens there. So let's move to number 5.
Number 5. Cincinnati.
This is a hard one, man. This is a rough one. I'm kind of speechless here. They beat Notre Dame 24. Was it 13-24? Yeah, 24-13. This is a hard one. This is a hard one to swallow, man, because they were not supposed to lose this game. It was a guaranteed game for them. They paid them some money. Come down here and showcase, and we're going to beat you. That was not the case. It was hard. I honestly thought that Notre Dame was going to beat them. Honestly did. They needed to prove this. This had to be the game for them. And as you see, I mean, Notre Dame's not even in my top 16. I don't even know if they play another ranked opponent that will allow them to have a chance to jump back in. I got no idea, but I will say this. Now, Phil, I mean, we could sit there kind of talking about scenarios. If I had a chart back me, I could kind of do this, but
yeah,
hear me out.
Go ahead.
Cincinnati, with all the stuff that's going on, moving to the Big 12, kind of the group of 5 outsider wanting to come in, this is a perfect storm for Cincinnati this year, right? And I say that because now that Oregon lost, right, you have Iowa, you got Penn State that are up there in the top 5. They're moving up. And theoretically, hear me out, we could look at a top 3 Cincinnati team.
Right.
And you might say, whoa, what are you talking about? Well, I mean, I'll be honest, because we're kind of toward the end of our top 16 here. Our next 2 teams are going to be Penn State and Iowa, okay? So now when you look at those teams, one of those teams is going to have to lose next week.
Right.
Okay?
One's getting knocked.
So let's just say it's Penn State, right? So now Cincinnati moves up to 4, right? Let's assume the top 3 teams are going to stay there. Let's say Iowa wins out. They're going to play Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. Let's say Ohio State beats them.
Yep.
Guess who goes to number 3?
Cincinnati.
Who?
Cincinnati.
WKRP in Cincinnati. Look at that, man. I think that was 1986, wasn't it? No.
It might have been.
That singing moment was probably as good as the moment I sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at the Cubs thing. Huh?
Take me out to the ball game?
Let's go, Notre Dame and Cubs fans! Let's do this for our man Harry Carey. Thank you.
He was imitating
dying
Harry Carey.
No,
through Will Ferrell.
Right, Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey. See, not just Harry Carey. Will
he
Ferrell
had 2 impressions at the same time.
Hey, man.
He's the
like
most talented man.
I like to be difficult, but so do you think I'm crazy, Phil?
No, I don't.
Cincinnati could be number 3 in the freaking country.
You did a tremendous job breaking that down. I want to look at Cincinnati's schedule real quick.
Please do.
To give you some perspective. Because Notre Dame
get pissed off.
Notre Dame you play Virginia Tech, USC,
next game, yes.
North Carolina,
yes.
Navy,
yes.
Virginia, Georgia Tech, and then you end with Stanford. Correct. Let's see Cincinnati's schedule here.
Please do. I can
Cincinnati Bearcat football, baby.
SMU.
They play
Little Sisters of the Poor.
Temple
right?
Tough.
Yes.
Temple Tough.
Okay. All right.
That's Friday night, Chris. Friday night football.
I
then
didn't
University
get there yet,
Central. University of Central Florida.
Right?
Navy.
USF, I think how many games USF win? Like, I think they won 1 game.
Yeah.
So dude, their
That's
schedule,
not
like,
Navy's not a good team right now, are they? They're always tough.
Cincinnati's going to be 3. I'm telling you.
Tulane, Tulsa, South Florida,
Okay.
SMU near the end, and then Thanksgiving weekend, they play former Bears quarterback Jeff Blake's old squad in East Carolina.
There we go. Okay.
East Carolina. They have an easy road to undefeated season, but to Chris's point, wins, baby, versus losses in a tougher conference. How do they decide? On the Chris Zorich poll show he's showing you, they have a way to move up. But let me ask you, though, based on what I read to you, that schedule,
yes,
is there a way that you could say, you know what, another like Penn State, yeah, they lose to Iowa, then they win out. Can you make an argument based on who their opponents were to put them over the top? Another 80s reference there.
wow.
Over the top of Cincinnati.
Well, you could, but I think the committee, the College Football Playoff Committee, they're going to be under so much pressure because they've been talking about a group of 5 team for so long. And now having a chance to finally get a group of 5 team in there, this is, again, the perfect storm for Cincinnati, right?
Yes.
Because they've done what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
Last couple of years, like literally no one knew this was going to happen. No one knew that this game this year, they could have played Notre Dame next year or the year before that. It just so happens they played them this year. Notre Dame is going through some, I don't even know what the heck is going on there. They beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And then now they're 5th in the country. And you're going to have a couple losses. And then all of a sudden, they're going to say, okay, we're going to have Cincinnati, who just got done playing East Carolina. And I don't think they have a playoff, or I don't think they have a conference championship. So now it's East. They just played Eastern Carolina. Oh, by the way, your next game is Alabama. Congratulations, buddy. Or Georgia. Congratulations. You kidding me?
Answer Laz's question. As good as Cincinnati looks, they can't compete. He's kind of rhetorically asking.
Absolutely,
they can't compete with Bama or Georgia.
Laz, I agree. Now, last year was a fluke, right? Because they beat Georgia in the bowl game, but like 90% of the players in Georgia left. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Everyone leaves that story out in the broadcast. They don't talk about all those players that didn't play.
It doesn't
quit because
TV, right?
They skipped for the NFL.
Right.
So yeah.
But it sounds better. Point. It sounds better if Cincinnati
they upset Georgia.
And now they have a chance
NFL draft picks.
And they're not going to have a chance to play them again this year. That's how it's going to go.
I'm going to keep watching Cincinnati.
Oh, we have to. You have to. They're a great team, though. They're a good team.
Yes. But you don't want to get a letdown game. You don't want to lose to Tulsa.
This is right now, again, perfect storm. The athletic director is just hallelujah thing. This literally just fell in his lap. And the fact that they're going to be going to the Big 12 in a couple of years, they're saying, hey, this is our shining moment here. And, we just got done playing Eastern Carolina or Tulsa. Going into the
Tulane, Navy. There you go.
All right. It was a rough one. But it's true, though. So that's my scenario. I'm sure the folks have talked about it, so I'm going to say it here. You heard it here first. But you do the math, there's a huge possibility that, and then depending on who wins in the SEC championship, how far is that team going to go down? So let's say Alabama loses in the SEC championship. They're going to go down to 4 probably, or maybe even 3, which means that Cincinnati, Phil, you hearing this? Now Cincinnati could be 2.
Hey,
So that was my Cincinnati rant. But now we all know the most important game is the game coming up. That's why I can talk about it, because they're not playing anymore. So those guys, they're thinking about Temple, put some points in Temple, win a Temple game, and go on to the next opponent. Woo! So now we're to number 4.
Number 4, Penn State.
Okay, here we go. So we've talked about this a little bit. They move up 1 to 4, but again, just because Oregon lost. Because beating an okay Indiana, and I know everybody was, excited about Indiana. They had a great year last year, probably the last one they'll have in a long time. Right now, I think they won 1 game, and it was against they actually haven't won a game in the Big Ten yet. So Indiana's it's not going to happen this year for Indiana. So beating them by 24, shutting them out is probably what you need to do. So that's kind of why Penn State moved up 1 spot. But their next game, as we talked about before, is against our number 3 person, which is number 3.
Number 3, Iowa.
I kind of fumbled that around a little bit. I didn't have the best kind of intro for that one. Sorry about that, Phil. But same thing. Iowa destroyed Maryland. So, is this preparation for Iowa Penn State? Probably. It's going to be a huge, huge game. I mean, you got 3 against 4. I'm sure no one thought last year this was going to happen, but it's going to happen. And depending on who wins, there's a strong possibility they may get knocked out. Because even if they only fall maybe 3 or 4 spots, the college football playoff, they're only going to take they're going to look at the top 6 and only pick 4. So will you have a chance to be in that top 4 if you lose this game? Again, I kind of gave this scenario before. Whoever wins this game will probably represent their division in the Big Ten championship game and then run into a buzzsaw, which is Ohio State. So that's probably what's going to happen. So we can go on now to number 2.
Number 2, Georgia.
And Phil, if I could just say number 1 now, so we can kind of talk about both these teams at the same time. Number 1.
Number 1, Alabama.
Okay, so Phil, you don't know this. I was like this close to not having a number 2 and just having 2 number 1s.
Georgia's playing great football.
They're playing phenomenal, lights out. Now, if you want to look at rankings and everything else, it was interesting because I obviously saw the Georgia game first, and then watching the Alabama game. And I was really impressed with Georgia's defense because they didn't let them score. And here's a crazy stat. I wrote it down. Where is it?
Where is it?
Here we go. They've only allowed 23 points, total points, in the first 5 games. That was the least amount of points scored upon, that their defense allowed since 1936.
Jeez.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
23 points.
Come on, man.
In 5 games. They're
Jeez.
shutting folks down.
That,
Unlike Alabama, right?
right?
Who, even though their second team, third team guys are in there, Georgia's guys aren't letting them score. So I was so close, man. Seriously, man. And the only reason why I feel that Alabama deserves to be number one, and this is kind of from my experience, man, it's tough being number one. You have that bullseye in your back every day.
Right.
And they won the national championship last year. They were number one for such a long time. That falls into this year, and they're still the team to beat. And so that's the only reason, because after Ole Miss scored on Alabama, I mean, I had to think about it because I was like, man, you know what? I might put Georgia number one because, I mean, they shut out a top 10 Arkansas team. And even though even though Alabama blew out Ole Miss, I think they're in like top 25 in some polls.
Right.
So you beat a number 8, you beat a number 25, 24, whatever.
In convincing fashion. I even thought Arkansas was going to show up better. Georgia
They were dominant, man.
It was like Frank Bruno versus Mike Tyson. It was like 1, 2, 3. The crew is called.
What did the person? Oh, okay.
Alabama never plays anyone soft on their schedule every year. Alabama never plays anyone soft schedule I'm trying to understand. Is he being sarcastic there?
I think he's being sarcastic.
Okay.
But
to your point, Georgia has been dominant in every game. I'm telling
you, man, I was not going to have a number 2. I was going to say 2 number 1s. I was literally
1A, 1B is the draft Dr. Phil way. As
okay.
Cherie is pointing out.
1A, 1B. Okay.
1A, 1B. Then you get away with it. You kind of give them a ranking because the one thing I could say is Alabama's had that bullseye on their back. They're the national champs. They do this, they do that. They deserve that, until they get knocked off that throne. So to your point, Georgia looks like the best team in football. But Alabama's not exactly collectively. But Alabama's no slouch. So is it going to be Alabama, Georgia? Is that going to be the national championship? That's what everybody's thinking.
Well, it was a couple years ago. I think it was Auburn, Alabama. But maybe like 2-3 years ago, the SEC championship game was like better than the national championship game.
Exactly.
And here's we can kind of talk about this a little bit. This is the scary part if folks get their way and the college football playoff folks move to 12, right?
Yeah.
Because you throw in more teams, guess what? Those slots are going to be filled up with SEC teams. And then people are going to be irate. People are going to go nuts. They're like, that's not fair. I mean, it just happens, man. Look at Arkansas at an 8. Now, granted, it's not the end of the year, but still, these teams are ranked high. And so if you want to open it up.
But it's still early, though.
Oh,
it is still early. Absolutely. The only thing I don't like is when the rankings go. Now they've lost 3 games, but they played in the SEC, so you put them over an undefeated. I don't like that. Like, undefeated to me is hard.
Yes,
you got to look at it. You got to look at it through 2, like binoculars. You're not just, this ain't the pirate ship. We're looking at 2 ways of looking at it, and you got to look at how hard it is to be undefeated, no matter the conference. I don't think they've looked at it like in Division I football.
If you're undefeated in the MAC,
yes, they deserve to get automatic bid in there. You got to put them in. That's how it should be. Just like how does Gonzaga get into the thing originally? Now everyone's talking. They got in there because they won their conference. You got to be able to do that.
Okay, so you're going to take the
in
MAC
1A
championship.
In one football, you're saying 12 teams. I think you have to give.
You're going to say the MAC champion who's
If it was undefeated,
the MAC
not
champions
like
undefeated
yeah,
against a 2-loss Georgia or Alabama, they should be ranked higher.
well, 2 losses like you had Clemson, right? Yeah, they
I
should be
actually
ranked
have
higher.
I have a little thing about Clemson.
They
here.
have they should be higher in my opinion. But again, you're giving me let's look at the team. I want to see the team.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you understand like there was a couple years where teams like we'll use Central Florida. You could tell they could compete with other teams. They didn't get a chance.
Did they deserve it? But they were playing. I mean,
Former teammate here, Lemuel Stinson, wants to know where his Texas Tech.
When you're looking at that year, I mean, they're playing USF and Georgia or Auburn. They're playing Alabama. They don't want to lose in Alabama. But if that's their only loss,
they did play some good teams that year.
Okay, maybe 2.
That's the other thing. Look at your poll. When the team plays a team that's ranked, like early part of the season,
sure,
and they've overcome them, but later on they suck, it turns out. But they were ranked 12 at the time. They had to play them at 12. You can't go back and rewrite it. Not you. I'm saying not you.
Right.
You don't do that. I'm
saying it's my show. You're right.
The college polls, the AP poll, all of them, they go.
The who? What? I've never heard of them. What are you talking about?
All those clowns over there, those blonde clowns.
I've never heard of them.
Exactly. Anyway, it's a conversation for another day.
We were able to combine kind of 1 and 2 together because I really felt as though it was like a 1A, 1B after this week. Because and watching those teams play, man, it was exciting to me. It just got me fired up as I was so depressed watching my Irish lose. But I do have a Clemson note.
Oh, you got a Clemson note before?
Yes, I do have a Clemson note for those folks who were giving me such a hard time, mainly Phil Atosian. Thank you. They're definitely out, even though they beat Boston College. They beat them by 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way that Clemson was going to be in my top 16 because you had some good teams like Florida and Arkansas that had, well, especially Arkansas. And I forgot Jim Harbaugh's Michigan. Sorry. So that was mine. Even though Clemson won, they got bounced out because
they only won by 6 points.
But 6 points, but they were in the beginning of the season, man. They were like 1 or 2, or they were like 2
They
or
were
3.
2. They were
what
2.
Happened? They just literally
because they've shown you no consistency. They don't have an offense. They're not
which is us keeping it 100.
Boom.
Bingo. Keeping it real. I'm TTNL.
Yes, the tape never lies. Keeping it 100. Let me do a quick promo before we go to the final show. Let's just...
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Larry Funkster Jones here. Larry Funkster Jones here. Yes, and I'm repping TTNL, the Tape Never Lies Network. The Tape Never Lies Network. Woo! And I'm
there you go. This week, keeping it 100. We got fans doing promos, getting fired up. We got former Bear Eric Kramer will be on this Wednesday night talking about Matt Nagy, the conversation, the presser today, the Bears' performance against his former Lions team. He was a Bear and a Lion, if you remember. Undrafted out of North Carolina State, who was on Chris Zorich's Super 16 poll show. They are not on the 16 anymore.
For a week.
Tough week. Tough. They did well, but they're not there anymore. One game. Chris.
Hey,
so join us 8:30 Wednesday night, keeping it 100. Let's look back, Chris, at your final poll here for this week. Week 5.
We got Arkansas at 16. We got Florida at 15. Stanford, again, amazing win over Oregon. At 13, we go blue. 12, we got a great story. Kentucky hasn't won since Family Ties and
Growing
Back to the
Pains,
Future. Growing Pains.
Top Gun,
Top Gun,
The
almost.
Cosby Show.
We still got number 11 at Oklahoma State, and now we have Michigan State at 10. BYU, Oregon had to drop down because of that overtime loss to
Stanford.
Ohio State's still in there. We got Oklahoma at 6. We got the Natty at 5. Penn State 4. Iowa 3.
We are
Georgia, Alabama 1A, 1B.
1A, 1B. I love Chris.
I got a little ahead of myself. I was so excited. My first game, we talked about earlier, Red River Shootout, Red River Rivalry, Red River Handshake. I mean, we can't be violent anymore, so let's just blow kisses or something like that. That's going to be a great game. It's a great game every year. The pageantry around it, huge. Number 2 for me, and only because that's like the first game is a 1900, so that's an important game from a historical standpoint. Thank you, Phil. Second, of course, is going to be Penn State, Iowa. That's going to be huge. That has ramifications.
I've set my alarm for that game.
Please do, because it's going to be a barn burner, buddy. Going to be a barn burner. So 3, we have Georgia and Auburn. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Again, I think Georgia's going to do well. Auburn has a chance to kind of make up some ground a little bit. I think that's going to be a good game. Then we have I think this is kind of a bowl. It's going to be we just lost to number 1, number 2 bowl. And it's going to be Ole Miss and Arkansas going to play each other. See who can kind of bounce back from that type of loss. And surprisingly enough, and I had to get my Irish in, Notre Dame is going to try to redeem themselves in everyone's eyes throughout the country, not just mine, everyone's eyes, and hopefully beat we actually had a good Virginia Tech team for a while. They were in the poll, I think, for a couple of weeks, or at least 1 week. But that's my top 5.
I love the top 5s with Chris Zorich here on the Super 16 Poll Show.
Yes,
with
sir.
Chris Zorich, brought to you by the Football Writers Association of America, as well as the National Football Foundation and College Football Hall of Fame, who, by the way, Chris Zorich is a member. Congratulations, Chris.
Yeah, it actually says right there. I just learned that, actually. Thank you. That's awesome.
College Football Hall of Famer. Just an honor to be named in there. My niece, who also went to Notre Dame.
You didn't tell me that.
We haven't talked about that yet. She played at Notre Dame. She was a softball player.
Sweet.
All American there herself. She went to the College Football Hall of Fame, looked up my name, couldn't find my dad, but saw my face at Hofstra. I'm
nice.
Like, how could my dad not be there?
That's very true.
All-American, 1958, 57, at Trinity of Texas.
Nice.
He transferred from Nebraska to Trinity of Texas midweek and was starting at guard that week.
I'm sure there were no NCAA rules broken there at all.
There was none. It was Tony Soprano was running the NCAA that week. You must have been at top of your class.
Great reference. It's on the script.
Yes, it is on the script. Chris Zorich, the Super 16 Poll Show, every Monday night here, 8:30 East on the Tape Never Lies Network. Get all the great goodies with Chris breaking down truthfully with his animation, his compassion, but also the most important thing is Chris's complete honesty. There's no bias. There's no bias. Keep it 100. There's no bias with Chris Zorich.
I know I'm gonna get slammed. I know all my Notre Dame guys are gonna be like, dude, it wasn't that bad, blah blah blah. But
No,
you know,
come on, bro. You got knocked
there's a level of
out.
expectation, man.
You had to. You were at home. You got to win those games. You got to step up to the big boys, like
especially when you paid them $1 million plus to come in there and play you.
exactly. Chris Zorich's bold predictions. He had it all tonight. We even saw Mr. T, 80s references. This week, though, on the tape never lies. Like I said, Eric Kramer will be on Wednesday night, former teammate of Chris Zorich, as well as I'll be breaking down the all 22 in the coaches tape with my release of the tape never lies this week. A look back at the Bears victory versus who, Chris? The Detroit Lions. That's right. Justin Fields finally getting an opportunity to do what he does well. And guess who wasn't calling plays? Ask the wise, coach.
What are the wise?
Exactly. The wise were you weren't calling plays, thank God. So therefore, the Bears offense finally looked like an NFL offense. And then on Saturday, you are a patron. You get X's with the O.
Ladies and gentlemen, class is now in session. X's with the O's.
X's with the O's every Saturday. It's a coach's clinic, a film, an analytical breakdown of what transpired on the defense or offense or critical plays, watching the fundamentals, but using the tape. I've done all I can now. Chris Zorich, before you give your final Chris's thoughts, the final thoughts with Chris Zorich, you said, go over there, check out the Saints of Newark on HBO Max, or go to the theater, he even said. That's how much he liked it. Every week, Chris is going to give you something you should be streaming. Chris, one show people should be streaming. One show. What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, I got this from you. And I was like, man, what is this? And I grew up kind of watching kung fu movies and stuff like that. So I'm used to kind of dubbed or having to read subtitles. I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
But he talked about the Squid Game. And I had heard about it a little bit. People were talking about it. And I was like, all right, well, since my boy recommended me, let me watch it. Recommended it to me, let me watch it. I started early, like around, I want to say maybe like 4.
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it didn't make a difference because
it went to 4.
It has 9 episodes, and they're like maybe 40, 45 minutes apiece.
Yeah.
My dumbass watched all of them.
You became an addict.
I became an addict for 9 hours or 8.5. It doesn't matter. It was bad. And I had to go to work the next day. And that was not fun. Because
and he blames it on
I
me.
didn't get any sleep. And I blame it. Absolutely blame it. It's actually really interesting. Actually, my best episodes, I think, were maybe 8 and 9.
Oh,
they had a chance to kind of really get in depth. And
So
I'm not going to give anything away.
No, there's no spoilers here.
But I really I think it was like episode 8 and 9. I really don't remember because I think I was probably punchy at that point. But I remember enjoying kind of those last 2 episodes because it literally was kind of like in-depth, talk about character, talk about kind of why you do what you do. And I thought that was really, really interesting. I'm just mad at myself that I couldn't
put it down. You couldn't put it down.
I couldn't put it down. So, Phil, thank you very much.
So go over there.
The next day.
Check out the Squid Game. My next Chris Zorich reference that I want him to watch, since he loves Kung Fu, is probably in my top 5 all-time series. This is a series now.
Okay.
It's called The Warrior. And I've talked about this before.
Okay.
It is phenomenal.
Really?
If you love Kung Fu, this doesn't have overdubs. This is on HBO Max. You could see it. Check out The Warrior, Chris. You will thank me later. Again, it's a high praise to get my top 10. This guy is sitting there number 5, the Warrior. I can't wait to the new season. They announced that there's definitely a new season coming out. So you'll have
Nice.
time to catch up. You'll know that, hey, this ain't going to be over. Don't go crazy, get
I'm
addicted.
not. Believe me.
There's
I'm
three
done with that.
there's
I'm
3
not.
seasons
No.
so far. So
No, I'm
go
going to
check
watch
it
the
out.
first episode
There
and then
you
literally
go.
set my alarm so I can go to bed.
Exactly.
Even though it might be 9 o'clock.
Tao
Oh, there you go.
Tao Hang. Thank you, Tao. I'm telling you.
I can't wait to check it out.
Phenomenal writing, phenomenal history mixed in, and Bruce Lee. Oh my God, he's right. It's based on Bruce Lee's original TV series. Yeah, it's so good. Oh,
I
bro.
just read Bruce Lee's book. What was it? You know what? I'll get it for you. I just finished his book.
You got to tell me because I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan too.
Oh, this is it. He had a very interesting life, dude. Very interesting life. I mean,
that's next week's show. Watch The Warrior. We'll be on forever. Watch The Warrior. Chris's. We don't have. I got to make a drop for that. Chris's final thoughts.
Okay, so this was kind of in honor of Barry Alvarez. They actually named the field at Camp Randall after Barry. And I spent some time with Barry Alvarez, who was my defensive coordinator for he was a linebacker coach for a year at Notre Dame, and then he was my defensive coordinator at Notre Dame for 2 years. We won the national championship with him. An amazing individual. I'm trying to run off a couple things. Won 3 Big Ten. I'm sorry. After he went to Notre Dame, he went to Wisconsin. Won 3 Big Ten championships, numerous Coach of the Year awards. Was inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame as a coach. As the athletic director, he eventually became the athletic director there. He won 16 national championships, 74 Big Ten titles, was one of the first members of the College Football Playoff Committee, was in 2001, Hispanic Business Magazine named him one of the 100 most influential Hispanics. And after 32 years at Wisconsin, he finally retired this year and was immediately hired as a consultant for the Big Ten. And this guy, great coach, really a player's coach. And it's really kind of interesting because you're not going to see the coach transition to the AD probably anymore, because it's really unfair, because you have coaches who understand both the business side and the political side of being an athletic director. And so the fact that you won't see that really is unfortunate. But what Barry Alvarez did in Wisconsin was just absolutely amazing. He changed the branding. They only had like 16,000 fans in the stadium. He turned that around. I mean, he really did some amazing things while he was there. But more importantly, he was there for his players. So I'll kind of, these two situations kind of ring true to the type of individual Barry Alvarez is. After he retired as the coach, I think it was 2012, the individual that he hired to coach the football team left unexpectedly, went to take another job. And within, it was less than 24 hours, like 12 hours, the team had a players-only meeting, and they wound up asking Coach Alvarez, who was the current AD, to be their coach for that game, for that bowl game. He wound up doing that. Then a couple years later, the same thing occurred. The next coach he hired obviously did really well. They wound up leaving as well, and the players asked him again. Now, this is a couple years after that, but that speaks volumes or for the reason why the players like an individual like that, right? So as the athletic director, you're busy fundraising, you're busy facilities, you're busy with all other things. Yet the guys on the team felt that not only would they give him well, not only would he give them the best chance to win, but he's also just a great guy to the student athletes. And it's kind of interesting. I had him on my podcast, the Zorich podcast, and they shared some great stories. Please go to my YouTube page and check that out. It's phenomenal. But he told the story about kind of how he transitioned from Iowa to Notre Dame. And it's really interesting. Hayden Fry was the head coach at the time, and he had got a call from Notre Dame or from Lou Holtz. And he went into Hayden's office to give them respect and say, hey, I just want to let you know, Coach Holtz called me. I just want to let you know what's going on. Hayden Fry's response was, well, you better take that job because you basically told me that you did. And Barry was like, wait a minute, I'm just letting you know what's going on. And he was like, you better take that job. So he was like, well, I'm going to take the job. So had Hayden Fry done what every other coach should have done, was like, oh, Barry, hey, what's going on? I mean, he obviously was doing well, could have got a raise, but Hayden Fry was like, since you took the call, you might as well leave. So that's the reason how I ended up at Notre Dame. And then after 3 years at Notre Dame, he has a chance to become the head coach of Wisconsin. And then he turns the program around. They're naming the field after him. He has either 1 or 2 statues on campus already. I mean, this guy's just a living legend. And it's great to have people like that celebrated when they're alive because, quite frankly, I mean, he really deserves it. And so those are my final thoughts. But, and I know we talked about coaching a little bit last week, but Phil, the idea of having an individual who players respect so much,
right,
that they're willing to say, hey, you haven't coached in 5, 6, 7 years, but we feel as though you could still do well by us. Right. I think is amazing. And it's one thing to have your buddies, your peers recognize you for doing what you've accomplished, winning a ton of national championships, winning Big Ten titles and everything else. But when the people that you're working for, and those are the student athletes, when they respect you as much as they do him, it's great. My last point is, when I was an athletic director, I obviously went to him for advice. And he gave me some really simple advice, but then he started to break it down. And he just said, Chris, the most important thing are your student athletes. Every decision you make on facilities, on meal plans, on transportation, keep them in mind because you're their advocate. They're right. 18, 19, 20 years old. They have no idea what the hell's out there. They have no idea what they're facing. They're putting the next 4 years of their life in your hands. You need to do right by them. And when I was an athletic director, I really kind of kept that to heart, and that wound up doing well for me. But you can see what it means to his student athletes as, he's departing. He's just a living legend at Wisconsin.
He's a living legend. Just like you, Chris, you always surround yourself with good people. That's what my dad has always taught me. And that's what you're talking about there. And everything, respect and leadership, all of that will transcend to the people that surround you and that really want you to be successful or want you to lead them. Just like those players asked him to go out there in critical bowl game and lead us out there. What better showcase of just affection and loyalty and the program itself, having statue. I think you knocked it out of the park with, let's celebrate these people while they're here. Life is short. You never know. And the reality of that, really great stuff to wrap up this week's the Super 16 Poll Show with Chris Zorich here on TTNL. We'll be back next week, 8:30. Chris will have his review of all the 16 teams, as well as the Warrior and everything else we're talking about. Hopefully you guys continue to join us. Let us know. Leave some comments. Make sure, like Chris said, you go over, follow Chris on his YouTube channel. Check out his podcast. I know this podcast is now on the TTNL brand as well. You guys can go over there, support Chris, leave a 5-star, 4-star review on iTunes. Support family. That's what it's about. When Chris speaks, people should listen. I love the show tonight, Chris. I love the rankings. It's going to be exciting. I cannot wait to 4 o'clock here on the East Coast, 3 o'clock for you guys. Penn State, Iowa. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm glad you guys love this stuff. I know Tao, I hope I say it, Tao Hang. I know he'll love this series. That's why I want to make sure you guys check it out. Make sure you respond. This show is bigger than just one game. It's the 16 poll show. The Super 16
poll show. You know where I got that from, right?
Where did you get it from?
Soul Train. I was a kid watching.
That's where I'm feeling that vibe from. We'll be back next week, 8:30. Check out all of Chris Zorich's stuff on his YouTube, Facebook. Follow him on Twitter. Chris, what's your name on Twitter? Do you know?
My name is @Chris_Zorich.
Follow him on Twitter. Let him know you care. Be a friend, tell a friend, as our friend Chris Jackal would say. Do that. We'll be back next week. I'm Draft Dr. Phil for Chris Zorich. We'll see you next week on the Super 16 Poll
Show.
Thanks for watching the Super 16 Poll Show with Chris Zorich. Like, subscribe, and comment. This has been a special presentation of the Tape Never Lies Network. Performance